Imagine disappearing in the middle of the day, and 6 years later, the Gardee suddenly get a message that basically says, check this grave. No explanation, no context, just a grave site tip that flips an entire cold case upside down. And before anyone can blink, 2 women and 1 man are sitting in Garda stations across the Midlands. County Laois goes from calm and quiet to full detective mode overnight, and right at the center of it all is William Delaney, a 56-year-old father of 8 who walked out of a hospital one morning and was never seen again. Here are the people at the heart of this story. First, William Delaney, 56 years old, a Tipperary native who had settled in Portlaoise, a father of 8 trying to recover after a stay in Portlaoise General Hospital. Then there is his wife, Brigid. She has been carrying the weight of this case for years, pushing for answers and hoping for closure. And now, after all this time, 3 individuals are suddenly brought into the picture. 1 woman in her 30s, 1 woman in her 50s, and 1 man in his 30s. All arrested on the same day, held at Garda stations across the Midlands and the Southwest. Everyone involved is connected to the same rural triangle of County Laois, County Kildare, and County Tipperary. Small communities, quiet towns, places where people talk, and where a secret like this should have cracked long before now. The final confirmed sighting of William Delaney reads like a checklist that should have ended with him coming home. Instead, it is the start of a mystery that lasts years. It is the morning of late January 2019. William leaves Portlaoise General Hospital where he had been receiving treatment. He walks into the Portlaoise post office and collects his welfare payment. So far, everything is routine, nothing unusual. After that, he heads toward Monasterevin in County Kildare. He stops at a relative's home on the old Cork-Dublin road. The relative is not there. William is seen waiting outside directly across from a well-known local landmark, the Hazel Hotel. And that is it. That is the moment the trail goes cold. No more sightings, no more check-ins. A normal day suddenly turns into a void. 6 weeks later, his family reports him missing. And from that point on, the entire case slowly shifts from a missing person search to something far darker. Months pass with no sign of William. No sightings, no leads, nothing. Then suddenly a woman steps forward with a statement that shakes the entire investigation. She tells detectives that her own brother confessed to killing William Delaney. This is one of those moments where the whole story takes a sharp turn. A missing person case instantly becomes a suspected murder, and the Gardee treat her statement seriously. They start digging deeper, pulling at threads that had not made sense before. But even with this confession, they still do not have the one thing they desperately need: a location, no body, no proof of what actually happened, just a statement, a rumor, and a family waiting for answers. Then comes another twist. In June of 2019, the Gardee receive a new tip. This one is very specific. They are told that William Delaney was killed and buried somewhere around the Rock of Dunamace in County Laois. Now, if you know the Rock of Dunamace, you know it is not some random field. It is a major tourist spot, a huge medieval ruin sitting on a hill and one of the most recognizable places in the county. Not exactly the kind of location you choose if you are trying to keep a secret forever. Still, detectives take the tip seriously. They search the area. They bring in specialists. They go through the land carefully. And after all that effort, they find nothing. No remains, no evidence, no trace of William. It is one of those moments where the case should move forward, but instead it hits another wall. The confession has no body behind it. The tip leads nowhere, and the mystery goes back into the shadows. After the failed search, the case slowly drifts into the background. Days turn into months, and months turn into years. William's family keeps asking questions, especially his wife, Brigid, who speaks publicly about the pain of not knowing. The investigation stays open, but nothing moves. No arrests, no new tips, just silence. Rural Ireland is good at keeping stories alive, but it can also be very good at keeping secrets buried. Every now and then, detectives review the case, but without a breakthrough, everything feels stuck. The kind of stuck where you start wondering if the truth will ever come out. And then, out of nowhere, something shifts. Then, in November of 2025, everything changes. The Gardee receive another tip. This one is not vague, it is not rumor, it is direct. Someone tells them to check a specific grave site. This is the kind of moment detectives wait years for. A single detail that suggests someone finally talked, someone who knows more than they ever admitted, someone who may have carried this secret for 6 long years. The information is strong enough that the investigation goes from idle to urgent. Officers move fast, interviews begin, evidence is reviewed, and within hours the case shifts into a whole new phase. This time it is not just words, this time it leads to real action. Right after the grave site tip lands, the Gardee act immediately, and this is where the story finally explodes into motion. Officers arrest 3 individuals connected to the case, 1 woman in her 30s, 1 woman in her 50s, and 1 man in his 30s, all picked up on the same day, all taken to separate Garda stations across the Midlands and the Southwest. This is not random. When investigators arrest multiple people at once, it usually means they believe the story has more than one version, more than one witness, more than one connection, and someone in that group may be the key to unlocking the truth. The announcement hits the local community like a shockwave. For 6 years, the case felt frozen. Now, suddenly, it is moving at full speed, and the quiet question on everyone's mind is simple. Why now? What changed? Who talked? With the arrests announced, attention immediately shifts back to William's family. His wife, Brigid, speaks about the long years of waiting, the uncertainty, the frustration, the hope that one day someone would tell the truth. For her and for their 8 children, this is not a dramatic headline. It is an emotional turning point, a moment where the possibility of closure becomes real for the first time since 2019. The family has lived with more questions than answers. They know William left the hospital. They know he collected his payment. They know he was seen outside that house in Monastereven. But everything after that has been guesses and rumors. The arrests do not solve the case, but they send one clear message. The silence around William's disappearance is starting to crack. And now we reach the part everyone is thinking about. If this case stayed frozen for 6 years and suddenly 3 people get arrested in one sweep, it usually means one thing. Somebody finally folded. Someone who stayed quiet for years reached the breaking point. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was fear. Maybe someone realized the story was never going to stay buried forever. What we do know is this. The investigation into William Delaney's disappearance is no longer standing still. Detectives are reconnecting dots. Old statements are being reread. New information is being tested, and the long, painful wait for answers might finally be coming to an end. It is ironic. A case that once led investigators to a massive medieval landmark ended up turning on a simple grave site tip. A whisper that changed everything. And until the Gardee release more details, one thing is certain. In the quiet fields of County Laois, a secret that survived 6 years is finally running out of places to hide.